I always say when I train new staff, which I love to do, is if I wouldn't leave you with my mom, what on earth gives you the idea that I would leave you with someone else's?
Welcome back to Next Gen by NuCare, a podcast for senior living providers looking for solutions to improve their businesses and take ideas from thought leaders across the industry. I'm Joel Moyer, the host, and I'm welcoming Heidi Kuchenbacker today from our new partnership, NuCare Florida. Today, we're going to be diving into the evolution of senior living in the last 20 years in the state of Florida and across the country, and then how we're going to be working together, utilizing the latest and greatest technologies and business efficiencies to serve seniors in Florida moving forward. Welcome, Heidi.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining my podcast. I am really excited to talk about all the great experience you have, how you got here, and some of the fun things we're going to be doing moving forward together as partners in Florida. So, first of all, let's get started. Tell me how you got into senior living. How did you choose this crazy industry?
I think it chose me. I started out in a position to help a friend for 30 days to do some marketing. Had never worked in the assisted living industry, and I tell her till this day, 25 years later, that is the longest 30 days of my life.
Tell me, what did you learn in that 30 days? What did you love? What was not so great, and how did you adapt after that?
I fell in love with it and realized that I had the best teacher ever in my grandmother, who had a memory issue to begin with. I didn't realize how much she had taught me.
Well, that's awesome. Awesome. So then your journey, you started with that first 30-day gig, so to speak, and then you decided, this is something I'd like to do long term. Tell me a little bit about your journey as you got started in the senior living industry.
Well, I really enjoyed the sales and marketing aspect because it's just really telling the story of what you do. And I was fortunate to work in a location that really believed in putting residents first. The coworker that I worked with, she said to me, why don't you just come play? That was her introduction, not come interview. Come play. And I thought, well, there's a ring to that. I kind of like. And I kind of have taken that with me always. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then neither are the people that live there. So I told the story of the community, of individuals, listened to people, and really kind of fell in love with the journey and realized that how much people needed someone to walk with them on that journey.
Yeah, I used to use the phrase that this is a very serious business, and it's too serious to take ourselves seriously. Like if you can't, take yourself and have fun with it, and because it is in theory it's a serious business, but we are in taking care of people. We're entering their lives, and they don't want us to be serious. We're not a corporate business structure. We're living in people's homes. They're living, in a community where we're entering their home every day and just helping them enjoy their life better. So if we can't put smiles on their faces and can't put a smile on our own face, how can we put a smile on their face?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. A smile goes a long way. Because at the end of the day, in the most difficult of cases, people read that smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll remember the smile. They may not remember your name. They may not remember your relationship with them or whatnot. But if you're that friendly face that comes in and greets them every morning, that's what matters. That's what's going to make their day.
That's a Maya Angelou quote right there. No, people don't remember what you said or did, but they remember how you make them feel.
Exactly. No, that's great. So fast forward through that, and I know you're also part of a member of the Florida Senior Living Association board of directors. So tell me about how you got connected with Gail and her group and all the wonderful things that you've been doing there as well.
They're an amazing group. And when they became Florida Senior Living, I was on the periphery in some committees with them, and then joined them on the board several years ago, 11 years ago, I guess. Wow, that's a long time. Um, it's a great organization. I think what sets them apart is their focus on professionalism and being there to be supportive and enough to know what exactly it is that we need to do and develop to keep the industry moving forward in Florida. So we're very, very cutting edge on the day's topics, whatever those might be, whether that comes out of a regulatory question or issue, or it comes out of legislative initiatives. I think they listen to their members, and that's key to moving that organization forward to support the industry as a whole in Florida.
Yeah, so fully agree with that. I've been personally on the board of the Wisconsin Assisted Living Association, and I know that the two organizations work closely together over the years, and that's how I got to know Gail myself personally, and doing some business in Florida. And obviously, that's how we also connected directly, was through Gail and both of our personal connections with her. So, shout out to Gail over at Florida Senior Living Association. We truly appreciate her and everything she does. So tell me how you've seen in the last 10 or 15 years, um, the industry evolve. The type of care, and you talked about the professionalism, and the need for, again, when it comes to the residents, it's putting smiles on faces. But in the background, we're all just working diligently to make sure that, safety first, and care, and working with providers and medications and all the things, to make sure that ultimately that smile can be there. So tell me a little bit, in Florida, in your experience, or even in, the southeast part of the U.S., how things you've seen evolve over the last 10 or 15 years.
Well, I can tell you from being in this industry for 25 plus, it's a different industry, right? We were just building them in Florida in the late 90s. Um, we were the people were coming from nursing homes or maybe from homes. Nobody knew what assisted living is, and we are certainly in a different venue now, because people do know what it is. And when you start, I don't know if this is more to speak to me or to the industry, but when somebody's family member comes, the next generation knocks on the door, they already know what assisted living is because they've had a generation of people that have lived there, and we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that happen. So it's a little disconcerting personally, because it means I've been here that long, but it is refreshing, and it's a different expectation. And I think that in this industry, no matter where we are, 25, 10 years yesterday, managing someone's expectations of what they're moving into is critical. As you know, we have people that want to move in and it's one-on-one care. And now with all the tech, and we expect to be able to do and see, and cameras, and you name it, all the modern things that in essence make the caregiver's job easier and more focused on a resident. And I think that that's the critical piece of that. So I think we're very focused. I think that activities, we used to call it, because it was events, it's a lifestyle. I think we've learned that. I think we've learned a lot. I mean, we all survived COVID, thank you God. But it was not an easy survival from a business perspective or a engagement lifestyle perspective. But I hope that we learned some good lessons there, because we had to do things differently. We didn't have a choice. And we got creative. We celebrated our staff. We got to residents and never got out of their rooms. And I think the biggest mistake post COVID we could make is to go back to how we did it before, because it's not before. Bring that stuff with you. Take those great programs you had before, add the COVID learning experience to it, and now we have an even richer lifestyle in communities, and a lot more information, better trained staff, better paid staff.
Right. Well, that's one thing I think we can all be proud of is we were forced into raising wages, for a care team. Um, and we've had to adapt because of that, that ultimately you can't necessarily raise the revenue the same percentages you've raised your, staffing costs. Staffing costs have gone up 30, 40%. You can't just pass all of that along um, to your residents. So you have to figure out ways to be more efficient in other things and how you go about your business. And it really has forced the business side, as well as the technology. In senior living, it used to be, well, it would be nice if we could do this, or hopefully someday we can do that. And now it's more of a, we have to do this and we have to do that in order to keep things moving forward, in order to provide the care, to give team members who are now, making a much better wage to do their jobs, to give them the tools so that they can, stay focused on providing the smiles. And, people, we all know people are staying at home longer. There's wonderful home care agencies and services and some of those technologies that allow people to get what they need at home. So by the time they come to our communities, they're a little further along and have more needs. So we have to be ready to provide those healthcare needs as well as the lifestyle needs in our communities. And also, from the late '90s to now, the type of communities being built over the years has expanded significantly. There's small homes, 20 beds or less. There's medium size, 30 to 50 units. And now there's some really amazing big campuses for more independent, um, active living adults that just need a few services. So the spectrum of services is a huge thing in our business and all operating under the same set of regulations to some degree, um, which provides more challenges. You know, how do you provide those specialty care services under the same regulations as somebody who's providing very few services, and show that how do you differentiate yourself? So how do you, going down that path a little bit, how do you, when you're providing, more specialty services, memory care services, higher acuity, assisted living services, how do you distinguish, how do you set yourself apart, in the market so people really truly understand what you're doing?
Well, I think it's the old adage, work smarter, not harder. Right. So I think that in this industry, it's taken us so long to get to the technology level that has been in most other industries, even in the healthcare industry. Assisted living's just been way behind that curve. I would have thought COVID did that, but it isn't. It hasn't been COVID. It's more people entering the market to provide that technology and raising the expectation of the consumer, whether that's the adult child or the seniors themselves, depending on where you are in the continuum of care. I think setting yourself apart is the same today as it was 25 years ago.
Sure.
Care about your people, wrap your programs and services around your people, the people that live there and the people that work there. I mean,
Yep.
it's simple. It's just not easy.
Right. It's all in the execution. And I would say you have to know who you are. As a
Absolutely.
provider, you can't be a jack of all trades, and master of none. Ideally, you need to know who you are. And so that when somebody asks that, who are you? And when people start talking about creating a marketing plan, and I teach a certification class for administrators here in Wisconsin. I did for 7 years. My biggest question is, before you start your marketing plan, who are you? Who, when I talk about your community, who are you? What do you do? What makes you different? What makes you special? Because it's not, well, we provide medication supervision, 3 meals a day, and we staff 24/7. Well, yeah, so does everybody. That's the regulations. You have to do that. But what makes you different? What makes you special? Why would I want to live here? Why would I want to put my mom or dad or grandma or grandpa in your community and trust you with their lives? Um, so yeah, so tell me a little bit about what you find important. Based on your years of experience and what you truly enjoy and appreciate. What do you think is important? And what are important qualities if you're going to be operating community and serving?
Well, I think we get the gift, right? The gift to us is that we get to know these people at a time that they need us the most. Whether their families themselves, it's truly a big expectation. But I think the magic potion we bring, particularly in memory care, is we deal with who shows up today. And as a family member, it's hard to separate who the person used to be. And, it's the person that you loved or the person that you've known that was your bright shining star. And now roles have switched, and it's a struggle for families. Whether there's some of the worst struggles are spouses, watching spouses go through the process, and families just in general. And I think that for us, we do become like family, but at the end of the day, we're not their family. But the gift of that is that it doesn't matter, right? We take that nice combination, that yin and yang, if you will, of a family that's known you all your life that can share their story. So we know what they liked and we know what was an interest to them, when they could make better decisions. And now, so that they bring that to the table. And then we bring, oh, today you're living life at 20 again. Okay, we can get there. We can do that. We jump into your world today. And I think it's easier for us because we're not a family and we don't have that history. And I think it's not one or the other, it's the combination. And if you can respect that and work together, that's the magic sauce.
Yeah, and that's so important to remind the families we can be excited about the little things with your loved one because we understand the history, but we're not mourning the
Their loss.
loss of
Yeah.
their memories and functions. We're just celebrating what they have, what they do have available, what they can do, and how they can smile about things or look back and remember things. And maybe it's not looking back in their mind, it's today. Like you said, they're living their life when they're 20 years old, 40 years old, their kids, and whether they have to get their kids off to school and make dinner and all the activities and, whatever their role was in their house and in their life, um, they sometimes step back into that, and we can be right there with them and appreciate it, and then talk to the families and get more information how to better serve them when they're in those moments.
And to recognize the emotion, it's real for them. It's not, it's not a memory. It's real. It's today, and appreciate that. But I think bigger than that, we have to, as a provider, a community, their home, create an environment that gives them purpose. So we know them so well that we know the things they like to do and they can experience successes, and we forget that that's part of what makes us human, right? We want to achieve things, we want to do well. I think people are inherently good and they want that experience. So learning about somebody's past helps us create those purposeful moments in their present.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things we talk a lot about residents and how important they are, but obviously you and I can't provide care and services to all the residents that our communities serve. So, our role is supporting the team members that are in those communities and giving them, like we said before, give them all the tools and resources they need, the training, the equipment, the um, all the resources that they need to put the smiles on the faces and make sure they're safe and taken care of, um, and are healthy as they could be, and preventing any, you know, potential, tragic situations, health wise and otherwise, and just put them in a good spot. And so, tell me how do you approach that? What is your, I don't know, say secret sauce, or what advice do you give to other people when you're talking about ultimately, you have to trust your team members to do the right thing. And how do you get to that point? So you're comfortable not looking over their shoulder 24/7.
Well, I think that sometimes folks make the mistake of, you have one sale, right? It's to the family member or the resident. You don't. You have two, because you have to sell staff too. If you want to attract people, then you have to provide for their needs as well. So it's really the same situation applied differently, and I think we've missed the mark on that a lot in the industry. I think people are getting better about it across the board, but I think looking at salaries, obviously, but we all know it's not all about the money. It's a decent wage. Could we do better? Obviously, we try to share what we learn and as we grow with those staff members, but they are mirrors of us, right? They are, if we treat them well, they treat our residents well. If we speak kindly to each other, they speak kindly to each other, and it becomes an expectation. And that's, I always say when I train new staff, which I love to do, is if I wouldn't leave you with my mom, what on earth gives you the idea that I would leave you with someone else's?
Yep. And that's every manager I talk to when they're talking about a team member. That's the first question you have to ask. Well, would you trust him with your own mom? If no, then it's not the right fit. And it doesn't always mean the person's a bad person or whatnot, but this type of role, being a caregiver, um, in this industry, is not for everybody. And it may just not be the right fit because they need a different type of job. I say, well, if they're struggling to show up for work, well, maybe they need a different type of job where showing up isn't as critical because we have residents that are relying on them, family members, the other teammates. They have to be there because their presence is step one, showing up. And because if you're not there, they could be the nicest person in the world and whatnot, but if they just don't have the ability to get to work, it's just not going to work. Um, and once they get there, you know, dropping all their problems on the sideline, or fake it till you make it, put a smile on your face, and dive in. Um, be present for your teammates and your residents. I think it's just really important. And to find those people, it's a wonderful feeling to find, to bring someone in and it works. Uh, and that that they want to be in uh, this type of a role in their career. And that you can provide them, again, the training they need, the tools they need to do the tasks, and making sure that there's not repetitive documentation and some of those things that can just be really frustrating in this business. If you have to record something 3 times in 3 places because the systems aren't working together, it's really frustrating. And if you have manual processes for things, it can be really frustrating. If they know that other places are doing it in a more, say, automated fashion, which they then have to take an extra 15 minutes to do that task because of documentation or manual processes that are involved. That it truly does make a difference, and it's not just a luxury anymore. It's a have to if you want to have keep people in these roles.
Well, I think that's where the improvements have come in technology, is that if you can use a cell phone, the technology now, it's not legacy systems difficult. It's fingertips, right? It's just like using your smartphone. And I think that's what's catapulted us in this industry forward in that regard to help staff. But I think passion. You can hire for skill, you can hire for heart. And I think you hire for heart and you train the skill. And we like passionate people, right? It comes doesn't it comes with, it's kind of the two-sided sword, right? Because we want passionate people that care, that have heart, but it's also very hard. And as you say, I tell people, in their 90 days, you're evaluating us just as much as we're evaluating you in that period of time. And this industry might not be for you because we get so connected. One of the hardest things, particularly in memory care, because it happens more frequently, because it is a end of life situation. It's just a matter of how long that decline happens. And so, if you lose two or three residents as a staff member, in a month, a hug goes a long way, because that's an emotional thing.
Well, we've even set a precedent that, you know, hopefully here you we're able to get hospice involved. There are deaths where it just isn't happening, but involving hospice for your team members, and having a chance for them to grieve. And I say, well, if you're spending 8 hours a day with this resident 5 days a week, in a full time role, you're probably spending more time with them than you are your own children. 40 hours a week. I don't know if anybody wants to spend 40 hours a week with their kids, but but you know what I mean. You build these relationships and really get to know these people, and they live there for several years possibly, and then they pass away, and you feel like you really have that connection. So, and as a professional caregiver, you're torn. Like, oh, I shouldn't. Should I be mourning? Is it okay? Is it so to let them know it's okay, and to bring in the professionals who help people understand the grieving and can talk through it with your team members, I think is really important.
I would agree 100% with that. I think as an industry, we need to do better with just staff recognition, not here's some money to throw at something, although that's always helpful, right? Maybe it's a gas card, maybe it's something that, it's a grocery, something. But I think that knowing, we're so good at it with residents, right? We get to know their past, their interests. We have to do the same for staff. We have to know what they're going through in life. They don't need to bring it in, you got to shake it off and bring that smile when you come in the door. But we do need to know there's somebody graduating from high school, or there's somebody struggling with an illness in their family. Because if we want them to care about the residents in that way, we have to care about them in that way. So when those tough moments come, we know what to do.
Yeah, and I'm excited as we're moving forward together in our ventures. Um, we're implementing some new software called Fusebox, which is a employee communication and recognition platform, so that we could better communicate with our team members, but then they could communicate with each other. We can recognize them. We can give them in a more automated fashion gift cards for over a couple hundred different national vendors and things like that. And then also do little surveys, ask them how they're doing, and have some of those things sort of on an automated basis so that it's scheduled out. Like every employee once a month should be asked, how's it going? And you get caught up in the day-to-day stuff, so the manager doesn't automatically ask that. But then if they just say, well, not so great, then the manager can step in and really find out what's happening and how they can help, or how we can help them out to support them as a person. Because we're so resident focused, and they're resident focused, and they think that's all we care about at times. And we're like, no, well, our job is to make sure you can do your job, because we can't serve all the residents directly. So our job is to truly support the staff. So we're trying to take some additional steps to truly understand them. We also want to better understand how they like to be managed, um, which we all think everybody wants to be managed the way we want to be managed, or the way that we manage, because we manage the way we think people want to be managed. Um, And, it's similar to the five love languages. People have different ways they like you to show appreciation for them at work. Uh, and, we're really focused on trying to better understand each employee so that the managers can personalize um, their style of management to that person. Like you said, similar to how we do it with the residents. We personalize their care and services and come up with a care plan and service plan. So in theory, we need to do the same thing for our employees to make sure that we understand their needs and where they're at in life and what they have going on so that we can better work with everything they have going on to make sure that we fit into their schedule and where they're at in life. So yeah, that's pretty exciting.
I think it's great. I think they are able to tell us, right? Our residents can't always tell us. So it's like, first of all, you have to ask, then you have to listen. But I think the final part of that is that we have to remember to thank people, right? I mean, thank you for just being at the bedside of this person who just passed. I know it's hard on you. Thank you for doing that. If I could have been here, I would have been here. I might have done things, with you, but I wasn't. You were, right? And we appreciate that effort. And I think you can't say thank you enough. Heartfelt thank you.
Yeah, and it's again figuring out how they like to be thanked. Some people like gift cards. Some people like if you roll up your sleeves and go help them on the floor. You know, acts of kindness, acts um, of generosity. Some people like one-on-one time. Take them out to lunch. Some people don't want that.
Some people don't like
They'd
being
rather
recognized in front of a crowd.
right. Some people like public recognition. Others like if you do it on the side and individually, they appreciate it, but they don't want to be the center of attention. That's not who they are. And that's just embarrassing. And you turn a real positive into a negative really quickly by just doing it.
Absolutely. And I think, the ever popular, hardly used handwritten note. I mean, we've all got them over the years, right? The nice things that a family member has said, and actually letting family members express their thanks and doing that in a way that, is fair and equal for all staff, but giving them an opportunity to do that too, because I think they bond our staff. We all do bond with our families as well, because it kind of like tested and fire together.
No, exactly. So, um, I've sort of alluded to it, but we are going to be partnering together in some new communities that we're going through the process to acquire in Florida. And we'll start with 4 communities, and we're really excited about that later this summer. And we can announce the details at a later time as we get closer to that. Um, but we are really excited. I'm really excited to having Gail make the introduction to the two of us, so that we can do some fun things in Florida, specifically with NuCare and really service the seniors, and with some specialty services starting with memory care and higher acuity, and then probably some other types of additional services as we continue to move forward in the Florida market. And I'm really excited to be your partner now on that, and to be working together as we continue to move forward and start this venture in Florida. And I just want to say thanks for having that trust in us, and joining the team and becoming partners in this new venture. And I'm really excited.
I'm excited about it too. There's so much fun things that we can kind of restart together in Florida on those communities. So I love that we are like-minded in innovation and resident and staff focus. I think that's the keys to the kingdom. From there, how you operationalize it are details, but it can be successful.
No, so well, thank you so much for joining me today. I always appreciate our conversations, and now we have to put one out there that other people can snag a few tidbits out of as well. So thank you. I truly appreciate you, and look forward to many years of serving seniors in Florida together as we go forward.
The adventure continues.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for having
Heidi. We'll see you soon.
me. Okay.
Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe Next Gen by NuCare so to catch all of our wonderful guests and our conversations on senior living.